Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Arsenal preview show, looking ahead to the next Arsenal fixture, which thankfully comes mercifully after a long international break. And I should probably start off this show by first of all saying a massive thank you. We completed our 1K international break challenge this couple of weeks, where we managed to succeed in getting over 1,000 likes on every single morning show throughout the course of this break, which is fantastic. Thank you so much to everybody that continued to support us during this period, which I know can always be the most challenging for us Arsenal fans because there's no Arsenal to watch. But the fact that you engaged so brilliantly with the channel during that period is great. So thank you so much, everybody that tuned in, watched, and contributed. It'd be great if we can keep it going. Keep dropping a like on the videos, keep subscribing, of course, and continuing to follow us as we head towards that imminent January transfer window. But what is even closer than January is, of course, this weekend's game against Brentford. It's not the first time that we've played Brentford this season, of course. We've got that win over them in the Carabao Cup, which we put to good use with a disappointing 3-0 defeat in East London earlier in the season as well. But hopefully a win against them this weekend will be even more impactful for Arsenal's season in the Premier League, in a weekend, of course, that contains two massive fixtures at the top of the table, with Manchester City, first of all, taking on Liverpool, and then Tottenham hosting Unai Emery's Aston Villa, with two of the top five teams expected, or guaranteed, at least two, will be dropping points this weekend. So it is imperative that Arsenal win. As always with our preview shows, I'm always joined by a fantastic cast from our Discord server. So let's introduce you to them so I can try and get this sentence out effectively now. First of all, Garrett joins us. Garrett, how you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's been a little while since I've been on. So yeah, it's good to be back. And yeah, buzzing for football to be back, to be honest. It was a long 2 weeks.
It was a long 2 weeks. But it's over now, and Arsenal are back. So that is the mercy that we've got ourselves. Also joined for the first time in a long time by Dan. How you doing, Dan? You good? You well?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How you doing? You okay?
All good, mate. All good. It's good to have you back on the screen, mate. It's been a while. How have you been?
It has been a while. I've been hiding. No, I've been working days and nights trying to build my business, but I've got a bit of time now for you, so I'm here.
Good stuff. I hope it's going well, mate. I hope it's going well.
It is going very well, thank you.
Lovely stuff. And lastly, joining us as well, it's been a little while, but it's good to have Kian back with us as well. Kian, how you doing?
Not too bad. Nothing to
Look at me when you talk to me.
Sorry. I felt like I was back in school there.
Is one of those that looks at his screen.
He hasn't shouted on that in a while.
Camera is, so yes, no, it's fine. I'm only joking. You can look wherever you like and talk to us. As long as you're listening, that's all that matters. How are you though? You good? You well?
I'm all good. This is why I've not been here for a while. You just shout at me too much.
You're scaring people away now.
He's rolling back the years, Kian.
Indeed. Let's jump straight into things then, Garrett. Obviously, a return to Premier League action. How do you feel that this specific international break has affected Arsenal? Do you think it's been a positive break for us, or do you think that it may have interrupted the momentum built up from that win over Burnley?
You know what? I think it probably came at a nice time, with the likes of Odegaard potentially being.
Oh, we've lost. I think we've lost the audio, Garrett, for some reason. You've completely gone. I don't know why. It's the very high tech headset has let you down. Dan, why don't you take over while Garrett tries to sort it out?
Problem. Unlike last season when we had the international break for the World Cup or whatever it was, it hit us at the wrong time. This one, I think, it came at the right time because it's allowed a couple of key players to get their fitness back up, and I think we're gonna enjoy the fact that they've had a nice couple of weeks break to build up their fitness. I think Jesus especially, like obviously I didn't want him to play the other night. I thought maybe 45 minutes like coming off the bench, but playing 90 minutes all the way through is pushing him to the limit, especially after his knee injuries. But Odegaard with a concussion, it's nice to see that he's back kicking the ball again.
Yeah, indeed. I think you highlighted well. I was surprised. As I say, surprised. Obviously, there's no Neymar. Vinicius Jr. was injured as well. And they had a really important game against Argentina that they had to try and win. So I suppose that you could see that happen. I mean, if it was Arsenal, they faced Man City, would they throw a really important player in for the full game? Probably. That said, I mean, they didn't start Martinelli against Man City and they didn't risk Saka either. So maybe they would. Maybe I'm underestimating it.
Well,
Garrett,
the only other player they got is Richarlison. As I said, the only other player they got is Richarlison. So.
Yeah, but for some reason they like Richarlison at Brazil. They do. Yeah, it's a strange one. Garrett, let's do a test, shall we? Shall we see if you're back? Can you hear us? Can you see us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Let's see if it holds out. It was weird. You started talking and then it just started to slightly fade away and then in nothing. But let's see if it holds.
I don't know what that was. Sorry about that. I have no idea.
So yeah, I'll let you finish because I did ask you the question, of course. So do you agree with Dan that it's come at quite a good time for us?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a great time. As I said, yeah, injuries kind of before Odegaard being out, Ben White having kind of.
Oh, it's done it again. I don't know. This is so strange. Maybe try a different headset or take it out entirely. That might be the way forward, Garrett. But it's really odd. Like you start talking, and then it just goes away.
I think it's Kian's setup. It's sabotaging.
It's definitely Kian's fault. No matter what happens, just blame Kian.
I'm sorry.
Garrett, you might need to just try a different headset or something. Maybe they're low on battery or something. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. But strange one. Kian, let's throw it to you. Of the two players that we've missed who could be back, Odegaard and Jesus, who is the best in your mind to have back for this period?
It's probably, surprisingly, I would normally say Jesus, but I think Odegaard right now, I just feel like the creativity in the midfield is just lacking. Like, I don't think the control is lacking, but I just feel like that cutting-edge pass that Odegaard always did last season, that's the more lacking thing. And I do understand that Jesus is so important for our fluidity, but I don't think Trossard's been bad in the last 2 games, and I actually want him to start. So I'm not too worried about rushing Jesus back. I just feel like Odegaard's the main one that I want back in that team for the creativity.
I think that Odegaard has been really missed. Yes, I know we've won games, and it's really important to have your not only your skipper but someone who I think we can all agree is our most creative player in the team, and at least from the midfield for sure. So having that back, having that extra fluidity, I suppose the only thing, Dan, about having Odegaard back is that Havertz, who I know has been a polarizing figure in the Arsenal team, his best performances have probably come playing in his absence, in Odegaard's absence. Do you think that he might suffer actually with Odegaard coming back?
There is a chance, but it does depend on whether Odegaard is now going to take that sort of more submissive role and drop back a bit deeper and allow Havertz to break between the lines and maybe almost allow him to play as a sort of ghost striker. And then we have Odegaard sort of orchestrating on the outside of the box, because it does work when Trossard, who I forgot about, I don't know how, but when he's
about to change your lineup,
I am completely Eddie out, Trossard in, right? But yeah, when you've got Trossard around on the edge of the box, manoeuvring around Jesus, Saka, it allows someone to ghost in. And I think Havertz, he's very underrated in how he ghosts into the box, because we don't usually deliver that final ball. So he'll make the run and he has to check the run, and then he usually gets it at the last minute. It's at his feet under him, and yeah, he's not really done well at those points. But I reckon if we was to pick him up a bit earlier, especially with some crosses or through balls, he may actually start turning a few heads. But again, it's whether we put the ball through.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think Havertz's role in the team is still to be decided in some ways, because he can play in these different positions. But even when he was playing left back for Germany over the international break, he wasn't really playing left back. I mean, you look at where he scored his goal from against Turkey. It wasn't left back. He was basically centre forward when he scored the goal.
He's got that old school sort of role where he just floats wherever he wants. To be fair, he links the play up really well because he's very simple. But I think it's because he's being simple that no one sees anything extravagant from him. So everyone's kind of rating him down. But if he did a little flick here and there instead of a little short pass, maybe people would be like, oh, no, he's turning on the style a little bit. But I guess it's just his way of settling in and taking his time, not trying to do too much too early.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. I think that he's being told to do the basics right first and build up from there. And to be fair, there was the game against Burnley. The game against Sevilla. There was actually some really nice moments from him in that game. Obviously, he had that shot that just went wide. The little flicks. There was a little touch behind as well. And against who was with Newcastle United, he had a really good game. Like, he was bursting forward at times. He was driving with the ball forwards, and we just need to see more. Like Kian, it's just with Havertz, it's always like more, isn't it? We just want to see more from him. Where does he stand with you? Are you still keeping faith, or have you lost hope at this stage?
I don't think I ever had hope to begin with, so I keep my expectations low.
That works. Yeah, that
works. I think the biggest thing we're missing though is what we provided last season was not a Haaland type striker. We had all of our front four firing 15 goals each or something around there. with Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, even Jesus. He scored quite a few, even though he missed 3 months. So I think with Odegaard being out and Havertz, that cutback we always do. We do nice build-up play, go on the wing to our wingers, and either overlap or Saka or someone cuts it back, and Odegaard's always there to finish. That was his trademark finish all the way throughout last season. And I feel like Havertz hasn't provided any of that, not the heading, not the finishing, like when it's cut back. So I just feel like that's lacking. And if one of our front four is not firing, that's why I feel like our goals are lacking this season. And that's the big thing we miss Odegaard. Because even against United, Odegaard scored that classic goal of his. So I think that's the biggest thing I have the issue with Havertz right now, that I don't mind him being simple. I don't mind him. I like the fact that he's getting stuck in the tackles and stuff. But I just feel like that's not what we needed. It's the parts on the higher up the pitch, because I feel like Rice is doing literally 3 people's job at the moment. So I don't feel like we need. Yeah, and
if we want to have 13 players instead of 11, that's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I think I just miss Odegaard for that.
Sorry?
That's the only reason I miss Odegaard for that, is his goals and his late runs.
Yeah. There was this season, Odegaard's been interesting because obviously he's come in for some criticism for a lack of impact in certain games, like the Man City game, the Tottenham game as well, to some extent the Manchester United game as well. It always seems it's the bigger sides where Odegaard struggles to have a greater impact. That said, he scored in 2 North London derbies. He scored away from home in a North London derby in a massive performance there.
Scored against Newcastle. He scored against United. Of course. He scored against big goals. I think this season, all I put it down to was form.
It's just form. So, and players are allowed a dip, and players do go through some rougher patches. I think that Odegaard's return is obviously going to be important. The problem that we have is the type of injury he suffered, which was alongside the hip injury, was a concussion that Arsenal published. It's an injury that you never know how a player's really going to return from, because you don't know the extent of what that did. I mean, it was suffered, I think well before the international break, and yet was still only just coming back after towards the end of it. So it's clearly been something that's plagued him for a while. So just before the Newcastle game is when we found out he'd kind of been pulled out late of that game, because there were suggestions that he was going to be okay for that game, and then all of a sudden he wasn't in the squad. So I think it's a fair assumption that it happened just before then, and that's a long time ago. 2 Premier League games, and international break, he's just back, so it's kept him out of play for a long time. And so how he returns from that, how he's recovered from that, I guess we will find out tomorrow, if indeed he's in the squad and if indeed he figures. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk with Gabriel Jesus coming back, Dan, about whether he should start. But just like you've been shown to be guilty of in this show, a certain someone has been forgotten about, I think, by people. I tweeted out earlier today, is it just me, or am I the only one starting Leandro Trossard this weekend? And, do you think he has been forgotten then by many?
Yeah, do you know what? If I be really honest, when I was submitting it to you, I kind of almost went one-track minded and completely forgot the games prior to the international break, because Leandro Trossard was one of the ones I was calling for to sign. So to know that I forgot him, I'm pretty upset. But
I'll put him in for you now.
Thank you so much. Well, I submitted the right form then. He has been exactly what Jesus does for us in terms of the link up between the attacking line and the midfield. He kind of bounces in and about everybody, but it's his close control that I think we need. It's like he gets out of little tight areas where he gets 2 or 3 people pressing him. And the problem with Odegaard is if he's not playing, I think, on the right-hand side close to Saka, he's either in the middle or on the left. When that press happens, he gets isolated too quickly, and then he loses the ball. And then that's when we're all on him going, no, he's not having a good game, blah, blah, blah. But when he's got Saka out on the wing or White overlapping, he's got a little bit of he's got an outlet.
Yeah.
In the middle, he doesn't seem to have that. I think if he had a better partner in the middle, and obviously I'm not trying to say Havertz or whoever's in there with him ain't good enough, but he does lack that sort of box-to-box number 8 next to him who can absorb the pressure, allow him to drift out and then come back in, like do a little give and go, and then he's free again, because he works so well in the hole, in the space, in the half spaces. When the defensive midfield is occupied by someone else, he then appears and he gets that little touch, takes a shot off, and he gets his goal here and there.
Absolutely. It is interesting that when he does start games on the left, he tends to have a couple of struggles, doesn't he? It takes him some time to get into those games. But when he starts at centre forward, I think he does have those better. I loved him in the game against PSV, for instance, this season when he started on the left. Jesus was in the middle, Saka was on the right. And we had a great game seeing those 3 combined.
That's the key, though. That's the key, is Jesus. Jesus allows him to manipulate whether he's on the left or the right. Whereas when we got Eddie there, Eddie's such a box player. He's got too much space to work in, and I think that he's running 50 yards.
Easy to be doubled up on sometimes.
Yeah,
so Jesus kind of pulls the players away from him to give him more space.
He comes and gets involved, doesn't he? He comes and wins the ball, knocks it onto him, and then Odegaard's free, and then Jesus will make that 50-yard run. He may not always get on the end of it, but he does. He gets into the space and he wants the ball back. Eddie kind of wants it, gives it off, and then he's sort of drifting a little bit until he's brought back into play with a cross or a through ball or something.
Indeed. Right, third time's the charm. Garrett, let's see if we fixed it. How are we doing?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me, but I think it's going to be not very good quality.
It's not as clear and crisp, but we can still hear and understand what you're saying, so that's all good.
Right.
The other narrative of this game, of course, is in the goalkeeping position, because Ramsdale is expected to start this game because Raya is ineligible. It is and has been reported and is understood that Arsenal will activate now that clause in Raya's contract, so that deal will become permanent in the summer. And that's obviously created quite a discussion around the goalkeeper on the Discord. I've seen on social media, of course, as well. It's kind of mad. I empathize with the view that people feel that Ramsdale has been treated harshly. But it's what I find strange about this is I feel that if it was any other player, we almost wouldn't be having this same conversation. Because Ramsdale's just as a character so liked and appreciated. And despite, as I point out to what many people in our comment section don't like me saying, but the statistics show that Raya is being better on a consistent basis compared to Ramsdale, and is what I feel a goalkeeper that Arteta wants in terms of his philosophy more than Ramsdale, and his calmer. I say calmer. I know people point to the Palmer and the Julian Alvarez incidents, but he sticks to what Arteta wants him to do, whereas Ramsdale maybe is more, I guess, vulnerable to going back to type, kicking the ball long at times when Arteta would still want him to go short and doesn't have that same confidence when the ball's on the floor. But what have you made of the dynamic, and what do you make of this opportunity as well for Ramsdale this weekend?
Yeah, call me naive, but I suppose at the start I kind of maybe took what Arteta said a little bit too literally. The whole competition thing. It's like, is he going to really do it? And I thought he maybe would, but I mean, I think it's been unfortunate as well. I suppose the times we've seen Ramsdale, West Ham, a poor performance by everyone. I'm not sure there was really anyone that day that stood out. But the whole dynamic, I think the most surprising thing for me is if what Fabrizio tweeted is to be believed, that we've already activated that. That seems, pretty interesting to me. I mean, I've seen, the sentiment online seems to be with some people that, Raya hasn't, I think, shown enough maybe already to warrant, the buy option. But
yeah,
yes, look, I think as you said, and this is kind of more of what Arteta wants. I mean, I like Ramsdale 100%, and I hope he's a great game tomorrow. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, and I think he's fighting a losing battle, to be brutally honest.
Do you feel, Cian, that he's been fighting a losing battle almost since the moment Raya came in? Do you ever feel like there was a fair chance? Did you ever feel like it was a case of these two will compete and the better man will win? Or do you think it was already predetermined that Raya would win this contest?
I feel like with hindsight, I can say no, there was no competition. But like Gareth said, I did fall for it myself, thinking, I just fell for the trap that we have Champions League Football Cup competitions and the league we're going for. So I thought there will be rotations. But the fact that he didn't start him in either the Champions League, the Cups, and it just made me realize,
he did start him in the League Cup, didn't he? But just not the Champions League was the kicker for me. I really wanted to see Ramsdale start those games, but he didn't.
And those Champions League game wasn't we did rotate elsewhere, so I didn't see why not the keeper. But then I think the fact that Raya was going to be his initial signing before Ramsdale, and the fact that he went with Ramsdale, now we can see why he changed, because Ramsdale wasn't being persistent with what Arteta wanted. And I feel like Arteta is very stubborn, so he's going to get his way. And I feel like Raya is the number one.
Just a little bit stubborn, yeah.
I'm not mad about it, though. I think Raya... I think I feel more comfortable with him collecting crosses, his commanding his box. I know he had his scare moments, but so did Ramsdale when he first started playing out the back. So I feel like we need to give Raya the time to adjust as well. And the fact that I do like his passing a little better, and I feel more comfortable with him. And I feel like over time, Raya is going to be better. Maybe not a lot, but those slight marginal difference is what we need right now to win the title.
There is no better player than the player that's not playing, is what I find, is that we all very quickly forget, I think about the Ozil thing. You know, when Ozil wasn't playing, the calls for Ozil to play was so loud. And when he played, nothing really changed. I think the same went for a number of other players.
But Leno did nothing wrong for us either. He had just had like a good start to the season. Like the losses we had wasn't his fault. He got injury, and then he never got a look back in it. Never saw the sympathy for Leno, and he never showed any. He showed the most professionalism he could, and respectfully left at the end of the season.
And to be fair, like, there were comments. I did an article about this a couple of weeks ago. Leno did an interview with Sport Bild only 18 days after Ramsdale got the place, in which he said that he hadn't been told. Like, there was no reason as to why he'd lost his place. It basically hadn't been. And obviously, we heard from Nick Ramsdale on the Highbury squad. He alluded to the fact that Ramsdale's not been told why he's been dropped. And it seems that is just the protocol. That if you're dropped, it's not explained to you. Now, we may sit here and say that's not right, but then I listened to Kev Campbell talk about it when he lost his place to Ian Wright, and Nick asked Kevin if he was told why he'd been dropped, and Kev went, "No, I wasn't told." So maybe we have to accept that this is just the done thing, that you aren't told, and you're just expected as a professional to accept that decision and then fight for that place. And when you get an opportunity like Ramsdale is going to get tomorrow, that you take it and show why it was wrong for you to be.
But that's how it normally always works, doesn't it? Like the team sheet comes out and the players don't know if they're going to be on it or not, and that's why they try hard in training, and that's what keeps competition up. So I thought that's always been the case.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to lineups. There's going to be no surprises in the goalkeeper department, I can tell you that for certain. Garrett, we start with you. Run us through your selection, mate.
Yeah, so obviously I've gone with Ramsdale and Nets. I have gone Tomiyasu right back, Saliba right centre back, Gabriel left centre back, and then Zinchenko. And then midfield, I've gone for Rice, Havertz, Odegaard. And then front three will be Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka.
So talk us through why you've gone with your selection.
Yeah, so the whole Ben White thing, I mean, it could just be me, but I don't know if we necessarily know exactly what's wrong.
It depends how he was in training today. That's what Arteta said. So it depends on today's session if they risk him.
Yeah, so based off that, I actually don't particularly think Tomiyasu is the best at right back. I actually think he is better at left back. But look, if no one's there, he's the man to fill in, you know. So I've gone for Tomiyasu there and Zinchenko on the other side. I suppose, we don't really have much of a choice if we play Tommy right back. And I do think Brentford are pretty resolute defence. I think we will need that extra man midfield to kind of, make those final passes, just pull some spaces open. So I think it's a risk, don't get me wrong, because I think Brentford have hit a lot of teams on the counter recently. But I think we'll probably need to break them down because they are very strong defensively, as I said. Then the midfield, I really want to see Odegaard back, to be honest. I think you'd hope after the 2 weeks, of him not going with Norway, that's enough to have him back in the team and starting. Havertz, what other options do we have really at the minute? I suppose Vieira is suspended. I could see an argument for Smith Rowe, sure, but I think he will go with Havertz, to be honest. He seems to persist with it. And look, I mean, you can talk for days about Havertz, really, but I think he's going to play him, so I've just put him there.
And Martinelli's a star man.
Yeah, so I can kind of explain why. Dan kind of talked about it earlier, but it's because with Jesus back in there, pulling all those spaces open, just creating a lot of space for Martinelli. I think that's what he thrives off, to be honest. So yeah, I think Martinelli will be the man tomorrow. I think he will score a goal, definitely. Fingers crossed anyway. And yeah, I think Jesus just back in his team just links everything up. I do think it's harsh, obviously, dropping Trossard, don't get me wrong. That did cross my mind, but I think Jesus is just that bit more influential in the centre than Trossard is, so that's what I've gone with that. And then, obviously Saka, that speaks for itself.
Fair enough. Dan agrees with you with his star man, but there is some other tweaks to other parts of the field, so talk us through it, mate.
Through the magic of editing.
Indeed.
Right, so I've gone with the same goalkeeper, obviously due to default. Except for I've got White in there instead of Tommy, and I think if there is a 90% chance that White is ready, he's going to play ahead of Tommy because of the fact his link up with Saka and what he does down that right hand side. I think Tommy offers us a better variation on the left. So if he allows us to bring Zinni off towards the end of the game and put him in, I think that it helps Zinchenko with a backup. Apart from Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, I think everyone's on the same understanding that Havertz is going to get the nod. He's Arteta's man until he starts banging in, and then he's going to get the captain's armband, I believe. Martinelli, Saka, and then the guy I didn't forget, Mr. Trossard. I think that front three has to start. I think even though Jesus started the other day for Brazil, I think we have to throw caution to the wind and make sure we don't throw him straight back in, because he will be targeted. He will get lumped. I think bringing him on towards the end and sort of slowly bringing him back into the fold, especially I think we've got a nice couple of games now, and then we've got a big one in a few weeks. So it's better to build him up for those ones and then get him rolling that way than throw him straight into the deep end.
It's interesting, this O'Malley comment here says Mbuemo against Zinni. I hope to not see, but there's not too much. I mean, if White is injured, I suppose you could have gone with Tomiyasu at left back. Is there a reason why you didn't with White in the team?
Because I believe that Zinni is going to kind of move forward, and it'll be Gabriel versus Mbuemo.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think it'll be Zinni versus. Maybe the odd moment he'll double up with him, but I think Gabby's going to be the one taking him on. And then White, as I said, will treble up as the third centre back when they do that shuffle across and let Zinni go forward.
Yeah, it's a fair reply. Kian, talk us through yours, mate.
So I was going to put Carline in goal as a joke, but I think the chat would have absolutely killed me. So Ramsdale in goal.
Serious show. That's not what we're talking about for, was it?
Ramsdale in goal. Hopefully he can. I don't have anything against Ramsdale. I'm actually rooting for him. If he plays, I want him to do better, and I want him to fight for his place. I feel like that would be the best thing to do for him, because if he does fight for it and gets back in, it's better for him for the Euros. So hopefully he does have a good performance. And then same back four with me. Zinchenko thing I find kind of weird that we forgot how important he was last season to us. Like, I know Tomiyasu impresses us when he comes in for the specialty games, like against Mo Salah, against Liverpool. But I feel like Zinni's so important to how we build up, how he goes in, finds space, gives Martinelli the one-on-ones. I just feel like it's kind of forgotten now. And I don't think he's that bad defensively. I know he has his moments, but even this season, Doku came against him, did nothing. Last game, he did really well. I don't feel like he's that bad defensively. He's improving. So I'd stick with him.
He's had 2 good games defensively against Newcastle and Burnley. I thought he's been good defensively, Zinchenko.
Yeah, I've not had any issues with him, so I'm going to stick with him. White, I just feel like he's built like a truck, and I feel like he's going to start. I don't think he's not going to miss a game. He's already missed one for like the next 3 years now. He's sorted. So he's going to start, and then Saliba and Gabriel, obviously. And then Jorginho, Rice, and Havertz I did because I don't know if Odegaard's going to start. I don't know if he's ready. Maybe Arteta will ease him in. So I thought he'll stick with the same midfield. He trusts Jorginho in the base because he wants Rice in the 8 to cover more the pressing in the front. And Havertz is just going to play the Odegaard role, and I think he's just going to get subbed off in the 60th minute. I expect Havertz to have a quiet game, honestly. So I feel like Odegaard will have a say in the game. And then my front three, unlike some people, I did remember Trossard. So Trossard does start for me. And I feel like it would be so unjust for him to get dropped just because Jesus is back. And I feel like there's no need to rush Jesus back for how good of a form Trossard is in. And I don't know how people forgot about him. Did you see the skill he did for Belgium on the international break?
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
That was making rounds.
Gorgeous, yeah.
So I was like, there's no way he can do that and then get dropped. That would be
just that, yeah. So if Marquinhos does it for Nantes, we're going to recall it now. He really does a good bit of skill. Yeah, no, I loved it. It was fan. If you haven't seen that skill,
what have I missed?
About, please go. Have you missed it? Did you not see it, Dan?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it is so good. Just put Trossard Belgium skill. It will come out. I don't know how he does it. He manages to kind of manipulate the ball to move.
He flicks the ball and also touches it in midair to bring it back down.
He flicks it up with his right foot and then pushes it forward with his shin over a player that's sliding in on him, and then nutmegs the next player that's coming, I think, forward as well. It's so good.
It's basic stuff for Trossard, man. Come on.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
the best bit is Doku's the one who lost the ball trying to do a skill 2 seconds before.
Indeed. In terms of my 11 on the day, Ramsdale in goal. Tomiyasu at right back because just the White. We don't know. Yeah, if White is fully fit, then sure, I'd happily bring White back into the team. Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz. I've actually swapped Odegaard and Havertz round because I'm keeping Havertz in that right attacking midfield slot and then giving Odegaard the chance to see what he can do on the left and see if this is a formation that can work. I know Odegaard has flourished there, but there's nothing that tells me that he couldn't work on that other side. It's 2 left-footed players swapping over, so it's not necessarily changing all that much. But I would be intrigued to see if this using Havertz in the right attacking midfield slot, I think, is his best position. And so if we can maximize him and then experiment and see if we can get still the maximum for Odegaard on the left, it could be a solution potentially to Havertz's problems. We'll have to wait and see. I agree with Trossard. I did tweet it yesterday, so it'd be wrong of me not to just then start him in this team. But if Jesus does end up starting, which I have a weird feeling that he might, again, we're blessed to have him back and fully fit. He did play 90 minutes, of course, plus 90 minutes plus against Argentina. So he is indeed available and has trained this week as well, of course. Even though he trained inside yesterday, he should have been out on the grass today. So that will hopefully be really positive to see him back in the group, and having Odegaard and Jesus back for this period where we've got, after this game, yes, we've got a trip. We've got against Wolves and then, of course, Luton. But then it's Aston Villa and Brighton and Liverpool. So having those three back is great. Who knows what's going to happen with Smith Rowe and Partey? We're told they're a few weeks away still. What that means is anyone's guess. We're always told it's a few weeks, and it continues to be a few weeks despite a few weeks passing. So yeah, let's wait and see. We finished the show as always with predictions. So we're going to get your thoughts in the chat box as well. But before we do that, Garrett, we'll go to you first. Scoreline and scorers, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go for a 2-1. I think it will be tight. I'm gonna go for a Martinelli and a Saka goal. Yeah. So that's my prediction.
Dan.
2-0. I think we've done quite well away at their ground the last few times. I can't see us changing, but 2-0. I think Saka to get an opener and Havertz to score an overhead kick from the halfway line with his right foot.
Just concentrate making it that little bit harder. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Brentford, I'm looking back over the fixtures. They
3-0.
West. Yeah. I'm looking at their home record this season. I think it's quite good. They beat West Ham 3-2. They beat Burnley. They obviously lost to us in the Cup. They lost to Everton 3-1 at home recently in September. Drew with Bournemouth. They drew with Crystal Palace. They've drawn with Spurs on the opening day as well. So they don't tend to lose at home. It's not like a regularity that it happens, but it's something that we have done. And they went quite strong in that League Cup game against us. And we obviously rotated quite heavily for that fixture and came out with a resolute 1-0 when we had to defend a lot in the second half. But, we could have arguably done better. And Nketiah had a great chance, I remember, that was saved. I think Smith Rowe had a great chance when he ran into the box and hit wide, or was saved, I think, as well. So, yeah, we should be winning this game. And obviously with the other games, as I've mentioned, going on this weekend, we absolutely have to. Kian.
I think it's going to be like a nervy 1-0 to like 70, 80th minute, because I think Brentford are really good at home, and that's why, Tom did shout at me earlier and then forgot my star man that I didn't get to mention, so I'll just say Saliba. Yeah. It's okay. But yeah, Saliba's my star man because I think the counter-attack's going to be so bad to deal with, but I think our defense can handle it because we're better away from home, and just Saliba and Gabriel are in unbelievable form. So I feel like it's just going to be 1-0 and then a late last goal.
Yeah, no, I hope that we're winning as comfortably as like Dan suggests, but I think it could be somewhere between the two of you. It's either going to be a relatively comfortable one if we can get an early goal, but the longer it stays 0-0, it certainly does seem to favour the home side. So let's see how it plays out. Chatbox, let's see what you're saying. Temmie's going for a 3-0 win with a Jesus hat-trick. Rance is going for a 2-0 Havertz and Trossard. James is 4-0. Nice kickabout with the boys. If you understand that comment, you should do. Igbo says 2-0 in favour of Arsenal. Havertz with a screamer and Trossard to get on the score sheet as well. Bradley says 2-0 with a Trossard brace. Matt G says 2-0 Havertz and Martinelli. Yassine says, I love this, very humble. Is Yassine, who calls himself Yassine the Awesome. Says 3-1 Saka hat-trick. John says 2-0 to us. Our defence is so much better lately and I can keep a clean sheet here. Martinelli and Saka with the goals. Granddaddy Gooner Paul says 2-0 Arsenal with Havertz and Trossard to score. NSW going for a 1-1. Maybe he's trying to reverse psychology this and hoping it's just to put in the negative energy out there and hope.
He forgot the 0 and the semicolons in the wrong place. He's saying 11-0.
Oh, it's 11-0. I think maybe that's the way it works. Yeah. Nav says 3-1 to the Arsenal. I hope that is as well. But mostly positive thoughts, which is great. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win as well. I didn't start White, so I can't say a Ben White screen. He could come off the bench, I suppose, and score one. So we can probably stick with that just to solidify the lead. So yes, we'll go. The first goal is going to go to Kai Havertz, of course, just willing that into existence continuously. Or maybe Aaron Ramsdale. You know, that would really stick it to our tail if Ramsdale gets on the score sheet. But Havertz to get the first goal, and then Ben White to come on and secure it with a screamer from 35 yards.
Is this a trend you started, Tom? Why is everyone predicted Havertz to score? Like, is this something am I missing?
How badly we want him to do well.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the concept of manifestation? That is what we're doing. We're just
I feel like, okay, I'm on board then. Havertz screamer it is.
We are just manifesting this completely is until it happens, and it nearly did. You know, he had that great strike against Sevilla that nearly nestled in the top left-hand corner. So maybe we're getting close.
You did the Ben White last season, so
it's not happened yet. He had that. Who is it? He had the shot against. Was it a home where it just kind of cannoned off the keeper's hands? Was it the Burnley game? He had that strike that was kind of parried out. I remember it vividly, but yeah, very close to a Ben White screamer recently. He did score against Bournemouth with that header from Odegaard's free kick, but we need a screamer for it to be ticked off. That's the way forwards. Tommy Ash has got his goal now, of course, so we don't need to predict him. But thank you everyone for listening in the chat box. Really appreciate your time. If you're listening on catch up on audio platforms, thank you to you as well. Please leave your comments and thoughts on anything that we discussed today, your predictions, of course, and please leave some love as well for our fantastic panel. Garrett, thank you so much for your time, mate. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me in the Discord as always. And yeah, as I always say, join up. Yeah, it's great in there. And keep liking the videos. Try keep pushing that for you, Tom.
Indeed. Thanks, mate. Dan, pleasure to have you back on, mate. Thank you. Tell people they can find you.
Thanks for having me. You can find me in the Discord floating around here and there, or on Twitter under Black and White Cannon. I do sometimes post some bits on there, and I'm definitely in there trolling Spurs fans at the moment. It's a lot of fun. They're putting up stuff like, in January, we reclaimed the throne. What throne?
They haven't claimed anything in a long time, other than potential points deductions. Maybe let's keep those fingers crossed that happens, because that would be hilarious if it
please.
does. And lastly, Kian, thank you so much for jumping on as well, and tell people where they can find you, mate.
I'll be in the Discord too, more active now, less work at the moment, so hopefully you can get back on that.
Lovely stuff. A massive thank you to Garrett, Dan, and Kian for coming on today. They've been fantastic, so please let them know that they have been in the comment section and the chat box. You can find me in the mornings at, of course, 8 a.m. I'll be back tomorrow ahead of the game against Brentford. I'll be heading off around midday to get to the GTEC Community Stadium. I tell you what, I did enjoy it when I went there early this campaign. It is an impressive, one of the smaller, more impressive grounds. Obviously, it's quite new, but it's still on the smaller side for a stadium in the Premier League. But it is a nice ground to go and visit. So if you are going tomorrow, you will, I'm sure, have a great time if Arsenal can bring home the bacon. Let's hope that they can. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Drop a like, subscribe, all that lovely stuff. We will see you again very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.